Yes, the Carthaginians were black. Hannibal's people, who built the port of Carthage in Tunisia and the republic that dominated the western Mediterranean to the point of nearly bringing down Rome, had the appearance of the original Africans. We will provide both DNA and osteological evidence. This is what we will demonstrate in this video. Most historical accounts mention Carthage being founded by a people originally from Western Asia called Canaanites or Phoenicians. Queen Dido Elisar led them to Carthage. They set out from Canaan, now Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and Syria, arriving in North Africa 2,800 years ago. The Canaanites, whose civilization dates back more than 5,000 years, were initially entirely black people from Africa, before the arrival of a minority of whites nearly 3,000 years ago. It was therefore Canaanites Phoenicians, mostly black with a minority of whites, who founded Carthage in Tunisia 2,800 years ago. There, they found black, indigenous Africans, the first Berbers. This is why when the Romans arrived in North Africa 2,200 years ago, they called the Maghreb Mauritania, that is, the land of the blacks. The formation of Carthage was significantly influenced by the amalgamation of the Canaanites with the indigenous Berbers, resulting in a population with more pronounced African features. The distinct African characteristics of the Carthaginians have been affirmed through bone studies carried out by renowned European archaeologists in the 19th and 20th centuries. These are not accounts of African scholars, for those in the crowd rushing to scream Afrocentrism when their flawed Western sensibilities are challenged. To comprehend the findings of these European anthropologists, it's crucial to distinguish between the typical cranial features of white individuals, including both Semitic and European, and those of Africans. Africans have a skull shape known as dolichocephaly, which refers to a longer skull length from front to back, and prognathism, indicating a forward protruding jaw, coupled with a shorter facial structure. Conversely, white individuals typically exhibit brachycephaly, meaning a shorter skull length from front to back, orthogonathism, where the jaw aligns straight with the forehead, and a longer facial structure. The Phoenicians, known for their extensive trading networks and cultural contributions across the Mediterranean, have left behind cranial remains that have been discovered in various locations. Lucien Berthelon, a pioneering archaeologist and founder of the Carthage Institute, discovered that all the skulls he examined from Carthage shared common traits typically associated with African ancestry, such as a specific skull shape and a shorter face. Stéphane Gazelle, who led the Algiers Museum, noted that many skulls from local burial sites had features often seen in African populations. Eugène Pitard, another respected figure in the study of human diversity, expanded on Berthelon's findings. He observed that the people believed to be descendants of the Carthaginians had notably darker skin, a trait possibly reflected in the Phoenicians' practice of painting their statues a dark brown color to mimic their skin tone. Pitard also described Carthaginians as having thick lips and modestly pronounced cheekbones. Berthelon discovered a high-status sarcophagus deep underground, which contained a female skeleton with traits often associated with African heritage, including a distinct skull shape and facial features indicative of African ancestry. Pitard also observed that many skeletons found in Carthage, especially those from elite burial sites, shared similar traits, suggesting a predominantly African lineage among Carthage's upper class. He specifically mentioned the sarcophagus of Tanit, a high priestess, noting its elaborate design and the African features of the skeleton within, underscoring the African roots of this significant figure in Carthaginian society. Giselle concluded from his analysis that Carthage did not have a homogeneous population in terms of race or ethnicity. He found that the classic features associated with present-day Arab-Berber ancestry were notably absent in Carthage. Instead, many skeletons shared characteristics pointing to a significant African influence within the Carthaginian population. A DNA analysis conducted on a male skeleton unearthed in Carthage revealed that he had European ancestry, likely from Spain. This discovery, made in the 1990s, represents the first known instance of a European individual's remains being found in the area. This groundbreaking analysis of the young man of Birsa indicates the presence of a rare European haplogroup, U5b2cl, in North Africa by the late 6th century BC, marking the earliest evidence of such genetic markers in the region. U5b2cl is associated with ancient European hunter-gatherer populations and is now found at levels of less than 1% in modern Europe. However, it's important to contextualize this finding. The significance of this single European ancestry skeleton among the Carthaginian remains is comparable to finding a South African skeleton in a predominantly white British cemetery. The broader evidence supports the conclusion that the Carthaginians were predominantly of African descent. DNA evidence indicates that the original settlers of Carthage, known as the Canaanites or Phoenicians, were of African descent. Research suggests that Africans possess minimal to no Neanderthal DNA, a species that inhabited Europe until approximately 28,000 years ago. Iosif Lazaridis, in his analysis of genetic studies, concluded that ancient populations from the Near East, including regions like Iran, Turkey, and Armenia, share less genetic affinity with Neanderthals compared to later Eurasian populations, potentially indicating no relation at all. We have covered the absence of Neanderthal DNA in mainly black Africans in a recent video. This suggests that the earliest inhabitants of the Near East, similar to sub-Saharan Africans, did not descend from Neanderthals, pointing towards an African origin. A study led by Mark Haber, published in the American Journal of Human Genetics in 2017, traced the arrival of Eurasian populations to the region between 2100 and 3700 years ago, well after Egypt's annexation of Canaan. This research also highlighted that the skin pigmentation genes in 3,700-year-old skeletons from Sidon closely match those of African populations, leading to the inference that ancient Sidonians had darker skin compared to contemporary Lebanese populations. We will present even more evidence in part 2 of this video. Kindly consider subscribing to this channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section.